Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. This is Jessica Crejo with the Iowa Coalition for Integration and Employment and a member of Iowa's Employment First Leadership Team. Welcome to the June Iowa Community of Practice. Happy to have you on this sunny, warm June day. Thank you to the DD Council and Iowa Vocational Rehabilitation Services for their continued partnership and investment with the Coalition to offer the community of practice. Today's webinar will be recorded and all the materials will be disseminated along with that recording after the webinar. Don't forget that you can always find materials in the archive either on the ICIE YouTube channel or on the IVRS website under Employment First. We've got the archive all the way back to 2014 and associated materials. So check those out if you haven't already, and be sure to subscribe to our channel. I'd appreciate that. Closed captioning is available for those that need it, so please utilize that. If you have any issues with that, please reach out or message me, let me know so I can get that resolved for you. So I think without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to the wonderful and talented Ashley Lance. She's going to do part 2 of our summer benefits planning series. As you remember, Misty kicked us off back in June with an overview. Hey, Misty, thanks for that great overview and getting us started. For the Summer Benefits Planning Series. We're really excited to offer this. So Ash is going to dive a little bit deeper into the PASS plan today, the plan to achieve self-support, talk to us a little bit about who might be a good match for a PASS, how PASS can be utilized to achieve a job candidate's employment goals. And I think she might even show us the application and maybe dive a little bit into that if we have time. So anyway, I'm going to hand it over and stop talking. Ashley, thank you so much. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you. Happy Tuesday, everybody. As Jess mentioned, my name is Ashley Lance, and it's always a pleasure to be among my colleagues in Iowa. I'm excited that we're focusing on benefits planning because I really think that it's this tool to really allow us to get to those creative outcomes that I think many of us desire to see. I do want to let you know, this is my disclaimer on all benefits planning, benefits sort of webinars, that CPWIC acronym stands for Community Partner Work Incentive Coordinator. I have my certified benefits planning certificate. Actually, Misty and I got to go to the same training way back in, I think, 2012. But what that means is, as a community partner, I'm not practicing benefits planning every single day. My work with Griffin Hammis allows me to come alongside individuals to provide support along PASS plans, some guidance when we know specifically what benefits a person is receiving. But my role oftentimes is connecting folks with the local work incentive planning and assistance projects in their state. So I want to let you know that today, if you have really specific questions about job candidates that you're working with, the best mode of operation is for you to connect with Misty or a vocational rehabilitation counselor to figure out who the benefits planning specialist is within your vocational rehabilitation office. If you have any questions around that, please feel free to reach out. But you always want to connect with the benefits planners who are doing the work every day. So let's talk about PASS plans. By the end of our short time together, my hope is that you can describe what a PASS plan is and that you can describe how it associates with both Social Security Administration disability benefits programs and identify 3 to 5 ways that a PASS could be used to support an SSI recipient and to identify when a beneficiary is a good candidate for a PASS plan. So just by, if you want to raise your hand via Zoom or nod or however you'd like to communicate, but how many of you are interested in supporting job seekers to have more money in their pocket? I know I am. How many of you believe job seekers could work more if they had finances to go to school, to buy a car, start a business, if they had those resources available? Yeah, me for sure. How many of you think that supporting job seekers to obtain careers, that you want to support job seekers obtain careers that you never knew existed? and maybe they don't even exist quite yet. This is the sort of stuff that really excites me about our work. And I think that PASS is a vehicle to achieve all of these. But it's figuring out, where does it fit? How does it fit? And who do I get connected with to help me make it happen? So here's a quick recap from your time with Misty. In the House of Social Security Administration, there lives 2 Social Security disability benefit programs. In one room lives supplemental security income. So you all learned that there's a federal benefit rate, it's needs-based, and then in room number 2 lives Title II benefits. And that's a whole other set of rules. That's Social Security disability insurance, child disability benefit, disabled widowers benefit. And the important pieces in there around numbers are substantial gainful activity and that trial work level, right? So I just want quick recap. There are 2 different benefits programs, right? PASS, or Plan to Achieve Self-Support, is a supplemental security income work incentive. So I have to have access to supplemental security income in order to utilize the PASS work incentive. So how a PASS plan works is something has to be decreasing my SSI check. So remember, SSI, supplemental security income, it's needs-based, right? So when I have more money coming in, either from wages from a job or from a Social Security disability insurance check, that's going to decrease my SSI. And so anything that's decreasing my SSI potentially makes me a really good candidate for a PASS plan. So what happens is, for a PASS plan to work, I would set aside my unearned income, which means Social Security disability insurance, a child disability benefit, or my wages from employment. And I could set those aside. And so if I set that money aside that's decreasing my SSI, I'm not going to have enough SSI to pay for my food and my shelter, right? So Social Security Administration says, let's take that money that is decreasing your SSI and we'll allow you to save it specifically for a work goal. And then that work goal decreases your dependence on benefits. And so we'll continue to talk about how this all kind of sifts out. But the account has to be used. The money that you would be saving in a PASS has to be used for a work goal. And all of that is in the PASS plan of what you can pay for, what you can't pay for, but it all has to be tied around a work goal. So essentially, Social Security Administration says, we want to help you save for a work goal, and that work goal is going to make you less reliant on your SSI. So I get SSI, or an increased SSI check, to cover my living expenses. And then my goal, if I'm also receiving SSDI, is that I need to eliminate my need for SSDI or reduce my need for supplemental security income. And that's just Social Security Administration saying, we don't want to invest in this goal unless it's going to help you become less reliant on these funds, right? Because SSI is needs-based. So they want to see that this work goal that they're helping you essentially save for is going to help you become less reliant on those benefits. The other piece about a PASS is that it's time limited. It's not intended to go forever. Oftentimes it's a couple of years and it helps someone save for a work goal. And we'll look at examples of what those work goals might look like. So to give you a picture of PASS plans in Iowa, first of all, in December 2018, and these statistics were pulled from the Social Security Administration website. In Iowa, there were 35,284 SSI recipients between the ages of 18 and 64. So that's in December of 2018. That means that those 35,284 SSI recipients technically had access to use a PASS plan if they wanted to. That first mark of accessibility to using that work incentive is that I have to receive SSI. Out of Iowans in December of 2019 using a PASS plan, 33 people out of 35,284. It's an underutilized work incentive. Other work incentive statistics in Iowa, an impairment related work expense, 16 approved, blind work expense, 12. When we look at this statewide picture, the whole United States, that 480, only 480 PASS plans are approved in the country, which is kind of mind-boggling when we think about it. And Iowa ranks third, so which is fantastic. And at one point, I think Iowa was first, and we come right behind California and New York. California has 99, New York has 77. And you think about those populations compared to Iowa, and Iowa having 33 approved. And we can absolutely thank Susie and Sheila for helping Iowa achieve that access to PASS plans. And I think probably in our state more than others, we know what PASS is, but we don't always know when to use it or how to use it or where to get access to make it all happen, right? So hopefully today is just more merely a reminder and helping it feel a little bit more accessible to using it. So if you're a provider organization, I think one of the coolest things that you can do to help identify if someone has access to a PASS plan is that when you are doing your intake, think about and confirm if what benefits a person is receiving, right? Which is typically part of your process anyway. But someone who's a concurrent beneficiary, and what that means is they receive SSI and a Title II benefit. So they're already receiving SSI, which is the first requirement to have access to a PASS. And they also have unearned income already coming in through a Title II benefit. So they've got two big pieces in accessing PASS. Now it's just the work goal. But if I'm a provider organization and I look at the people I'm supporting in job development, I would go through and I would flag anyone who is a concurrent beneficiary. Does that mean you're going to write a PASS for them? I have no idea. However, what it does mean is that this person is sitting on resources so that when I'm doing job development and there's an opportunity for resource ownership or self-employment or a work goal, I know this person already has access potentially to a PASS plan, and I can do creative things with those resources to help this person work to their full potential. So what does that look like, right? So if a job seeker is a concurrent beneficiary, meaning I receive SSI and a Title II benefit, so we'll say SSDI, I'm the perfect candidate for a PASS. So what happens is I would take my SSDI check minus that $20 from that initial work incentive. And so if I have $420 in my SSDI check, I'm going to take that $400 minus the 20, right? And I'm going to put that in a separate bank account after my PASS has all been approved, right? But this is kind of how it works logistically. So I'm going to take that $400 in my SSDI check and put it in the bank in a savings account that's specific just for my PASS expenses. My SSI check is going to go up because I'm setting aside that $400 that's been approved to put in my PASS plan. And then every month I get to set aside that $400 in my PASS to save up for my approved work goal through the PASS plan. So if you're supporting a beneficiary when this happens, it's a real exciting day when those checks come in because they're going to get their full SSDI check and they're going to get a full federal benefit of their SSI check. So it's not that Social Security Administration sends a little sticky note that says, hey, don't forget to put your SSDI check minus $20 into your separate bank account. They send you both checks and that SSI check is up, right? So it's like, whoo, I've got an extra $400 that I didn't anticipate. So a lot of beneficiaries need that gentle reminder and some support, which might be where you come in as the employment specialist to say, oh, here's your PASS plan. Let's go make sure that we take the $400 in your SSDI check, you move that to your PASS plan bank account, and then you have your increased SSI check that we're going to keep in your regular bank account to cover your living expenses. One of the other really, really cool things that we have in Iowa, thanks to Susie, is a benefits calculator. And if you haven't used this, if you haven't saved this somewhere on your computer, and the only thing you get out of today's webinar is that website, fantastic. So this is a website that does all of the work and the math for you. So all you'd have to do to understand the calculation, and this is also a great tool when you're working with job candidates, to plug in the numbers. So we're going to try and I'll walk through this and then we can exit out and play with numbers if we have time. So if I have $450 of unearned income, so we're going to say that's my SSDI check, right? So I just type in $450 and I hit calculate. So it's going to take you down to this calculation. It's going to say I have $450 of unearned income. It's my SSDI check, remember? I'm going to reduce that by $20, which is the general income exclusion. So my countable unearned income is $430. So then I take my countable unearned income minus countable earned income, which would be a paycheck, but I don't have a paycheck right now, so that's 0. So my total countable income, which is my past contribution, which is $430, that's what I'm going to put in that past bank account. So now I'm going to have the full federal benefit rate for the SSI check, which is $794. I have my unearned income at $450. So remember, that $450 check is still going to arrive at my house. And then so my total income is $1,244. So see how that's pretty exciting when both of those checks arrive? But I'm going to take $430 and I'm just going to electronically move that into my pass account. And my total income to live off of is $814. So I still have the same amount of money to pay my bills just as I was before. I'm just setting aside that $430 into my pass account every month to grow. So if I take $430 times 24 months, because on average, pass plans can run about 2 years, that's $10,320. So if you were to tell an individual, what would you do with $10,320 for a work goal? That's a question most people have never even been asked, right? Can you imagine how that might change how we think about job development or their access to certain resources, to education, to a vehicle that could help them get to work? It changes the work equation when we think about adding in a pass. So what does a pass require, right? What's part of it, right? First, it does require an application. You can't just, get a pass like this. It does require work. So there's an application, and I'll show you what that form looks like. It can be used for wage employment or self-employment, right? So it could be used to help someone purchase a piece of equipment for wage employment, and we'll go through examples, or it could be used for the first 2 years of startup costs for a self-employment venture. It is time limited. You can't have a pass plan forever. On average, I would say from what I've learned, most pass plans are a couple of years. And it does require that the applicant set aside their own income or resources in order for that SSI check to increase. Remember, so whatever is decreasing the SSI check is what gets put into the pass account. The SSI check doesn't go in because it's needs-based. So when you're talking to a job candidate or a family about a pass plan, the 2 things that it does need to do, and it doesn't need to do this immediately, so we have to be careful about that conversation, right? That it has to significantly reduce the individual's SSI payments, right? So the whole purpose of the work goal is that they are less reliant on their benefits. And for individuals who are a Title II beneficiary, they want those earnings after you've completed your work goal, or once the pass plan is complete and you're working at full capacity, that those earnings are going to be over substantial gainful activity, so that their access to that benefit, again, it's an all or nothing benefit, right? So they want it to be over SGA. So, but if I were to go to Misty and we have a conversation about a pass plan, and I say, all right, Misty, the first 2 things I need you to know is that you have to reduce your SSI payments and get off of SSDI. She's going to be like, no way, right? Because that's too much too fast. However, if we take this step by step and say, what could this $10,000 do for your work goal? Because you've really been focusing on working full time and public transportation has been really difficult for you to access because it's only available from this time to this time. By purchasing a car, you're going to be able to drive to and from work and increase your availability to work. So if you have a car, would you want to work full time? Well, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so like then let's look at the numbers of how you get there. And that takes the conversation to, oh, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to reduce my SSI because I'm going to be working full time. And we'll look at some examples of what that looks like. So this is page one of 15 of the pass form. And so this is the application. You can just go ahead and click on the link after our time together today. And it feels daunting, but it's not. So all of the questions that Social Security Administration is asking are questions that you'd want to have figured out anyway before you pursue this work goal. What it does make a job candidate do is really think through what are all the steps I need to do to achieve this plan. And so again, they're not working on it on their own. You don't just send the past plan home with them and say, bring it back in a week. But this is something that you pull in the work incentive planning and assistance coordinator, the vocational rehabilitation counselor, or Susie. Iowa has access to certified benefits planners, or maybe you work at an agency that has a certified benefits planner on staff, and you pull them into the team and you walk through this to complete it as a team. So what makes up the PASS application? First question is the work goal, which seems pretty simple, right? But Social Security wants the person to be really specific about what their work goal is. And that might be articulating, I want to work full-time in this field. I want to own my own business doing A, B, and C. It also asks the individual to articulate the limitations that they have because of their disability and how the PASS plan helps you address those. So what is it about the person's disabling condition that keeps them from being able to work full-time or to have that? So again, let's look at the public transportation piece. I don't have access to a car. Public transportation in my community only runs from 8 to 12. I have a full-time job opportunity after I complete school or whatever that is, but I have this full-time opportunity. So by having access to a car, getting my license, and we'll talk about how you can do those things fast. But how does the PASS plan help me address those? How does my work goal help me address that disabling condition? So, and it'll be easier when we look at examples. Education and work history. So SSA wants to know, do you have, if you're looking at self-employment, what past work history or examples do you have of education? If that's blank, that's also okay. That's not a prerequisite to getting a PASS plan approved. What are the steps that you have to take to get to your goal? This is another big piece. So think about it like you're writing a goal for a Medicaid service, right? So you're thinking about what are all the actionable steps or a task analysis. What are all the steps that I need to do to be able to get a car, right? So if I don't have my license, well, I've got to study to get my license. I need to take driver's ed. I need to sign up for driver's ed. Then I take driver's ed. I pass driver's ed. And then at the same time, whatever all those steps are, right? So you're articulating each piece that needs to take place within the goal. And so what that becomes is the person's action plan once the PASS plan is approved. And then what resources do you have to reach your goal? So SSA also wants to know, is anybody else helping to invest in this work goal? And so particularly for self-employment, there might be resources that are also being contributed from vocational rehabilitation. It might be a community block grant. It could be from the Griffin Hammis K Fund, which we'll talk about in just a second. But they want to know who else is pitching in to help your work goal. Also, please, please, please be sure that when you
are working on a PASS plan, include someone from your WIPA project or a VR benefits counselor, because as a CRC or a certified work incentive counselor, having their support also helps your PASS plan get approved, because they know that you were working with someone in the field who has knowledge of vocational rehabilitation. So here's an example. So PASS application, first question, my work goal. This is, again, just an example. My work goal is to become a mobile pet groomer and own my own business called Pups and Suds. So if it is around self-employment, the person's also going to need to attach their business plan, but we need to be specific in the work goal, whatever it is. And then it's going to ask, describe what are the duties that it takes to complete the job. So for this person, I want to learn how to manage my online scheduling application. I'll arrive at the client's home. I'm going to meet the owner, complete necessary paperwork, review service with the customer. I'm going to receive the dog, perform necessary grooming tasks. I don't know what those grooming tasks are, but once you knew what they were, you would list them all out. They also are going to operate their cell phone for payment through the Square money management system, but you list out what are all the responsibilities that the individual is going to complete once they're at work, once they're in business. Another question is, how did you decide on this work goal, and what makes this work goal attractive to you? So this is where you also want to really detail out, why is this work goal so great for this person? So in this example, due to my disability, I have a need to set my own schedule. I'm at my best when I'm traveling. So I'm a person who likes to be in a vehicle moving from point A to point B, and when I'm with pets. So when we think about discovery, we're thinking about, oh, maybe they have a transportation theme and an animal theme. My disability allows me to connect with dogs because of my expertise. So this is someone where, because of their disability, it gives them the skill to be able to really focus on one area and become a content expert. And for this person, they're an expert in dogs. And my goal is to purchase the necessary equipment through the PASS plan, through vocational rehabilitation, and a local grant through my state, because of my skill set, because of my expertise, and my need to have autonomy. So because if they know I have expertise, they might just say, well, just go get your own job, a wage job, right? But what also is going to help me to work full time is because I have full discretion of my schedule, right? And that helps me because I need to have autonomy in my schedule. I need to make my own schedule. And owning Pups and Suds or my own business is going to allow me to make my own schedule and make an income that reduces my need for SSI and allows me to reach substantial gainful activity. So there's a lot packed into that little paragraph. So those are just examples of that first page of questions, right? Because I find that those oftentimes are the hardest. And then the next piece is really just that almost task analysis of what steps need to be taken to get to my work goal. So in order for me to implement a PASS plan, as we just talked about, one, I have to have access to SSI. I need to have something that's reducing my SSI, and I need to have a specific work goal that's going to reduce my reliance on my SSI and my need for my Title II benefit. So then if I meet all of those requirements, fill out my PASS plan, all 15 pages of it, I'm working with Misty, I'm feeling really good about it, I'm going to submit that, or Misty's going to help me submit that to the PASS cadre. Kate Rader, who I believe it's still Kate, she covers our region that we are within. And so each region of the country has a PASS cadre, and they're responsible for approving PASS plans. So it gets sent to Kate. Kate reviews it. She might have questions. She might reach out to Misty or your counselor or you or whoever is listed on your plan, have a couple of questions, and then the person receives a letter in the mail that says whether or not their PASS plan is approved. And so again, each region of the country has a PASS cadre. And I forgot to mention in statistics, not every state has approved PASS plans. So when I looked this week, there are 13 states that are not using PASS plans. Not one person is approved for a PASS. So it's always been a personal goal of mine to, like, let's break down those barriers in that state to try and support somebody to get a PASS, because it's resources that are sitting on the table that can help us do really, really cool things to promote employment for folks and have access to opportunities of self-employment, resource ownership, to supporting folks to working at full capacity. So who are your local experts and resources that you can connect with? So I've already talked to you a lot about Misty and Disability Rights Iowa and the Work Incentive Planning and Assistance Project. So Misty or Tammy are the two covering statewide. Also, IVRS has spent a significant amount of time of working with counselors to have a counselor in each office who is the benefits go-to. And then they all have the fabulous Susie Paulson, who is guiding them internally as their technical assistance support. So, and if you are new to this field, just know that Susie and Sheila have done some incredible work as previous benefits planners to really, I think, get Iowa on the map. And Misty and Tammy have done a fantastic job of carrying that work forward. So I just want you to know we have a really good, strong benefits planning presence in the state, as well as Iowa Workforce Development. You guys will hear from Brian during our series. And then the really cool piece too is that there are provider organizations who have made this part of their service delivery model to have a certified benefits planner on staff. And so it's just fantastic to see all of the resources at our fingertips here in the state to really support folks to utilize work incentives. So here are some examples of PASS plans, or what you could use a PASS for, and then we'll dive into each of these. So one, it could be used for tuition. So if you're supporting someone to go to school, and that doesn't have to be post-secondary education, it could be a skills and training program, it could be a certificate of completion, however that might support the beneficiary to be less reliant on those benefits, right? How's this work going to help me work more and be less reliant on my benefits? Also, self-employment startup costs. So I'm working with a guy right now where we are working on finishing his business plan, working on finishing his PASS plan so that he can hopefully open up his own business. And he's been doing a lot of test marketing and we believe has the case to open up his own business long-term. Could also be used for resource ownership or for equipment or tools. It can also be used as for a vehicle. So again, with Social Security Administration, it's not always so black and white around work incentives. So it's always worth asking of what could be considered. So this list is not conclusive. There are many other things that it could be used for. So let's look at a self-employment example. So this is someone who is a concurrent beneficiary, which means, again, he receives SSI and a Title II benefit. So he's a perfect PASS candidate. He already has money coming in that's reducing his SSI. He's also pursuing self-employment. So he's been able to do some test marketing. He's an artist, he's an educator, he's an advocate. He is a dinosaur expert and aficionado. And he's been test marketing his business for a while, and what that looks like, and particularly when we're supporting anyone with self-employment to test feasibility, we say, go sell a few things. He's been selling a few and people are buying and people are interested. So he has tested that feasibility market by selling his art, selling trinkets, selling specific dinosaur memorabilia that is popular within his town and his region. He also is a public speaker. So when we think about self-employment, he's kind of got multiple legs to stand on with his business. And how the PASS plan would support him is that it would allow him to have some initial finances with his startup expenses, right? Because startup expenses can be expensive for the equipment, for the product, for the training, for coaching, particularly if an individual doesn't have access to long-term supports through Medicaid. A PASS plan could be used to help pay for a job coach. That's also a highly probable avenue to use a PASS. And then Again, specific to self-employment, a pass is only intended to cover startup costs or to help within that first 2 years of businesses. So first 2 years of business. So if I've been operating my business for 15 years and applying for pass, that's going to be more difficult. It has to be within that startup time frame. So this is a resource ownership example, and we have done a community or practice or two, I believe, on resource ownership. So if this is a brand new concept to you, feel free to go back and the YouTube channel and check out the resource ownership presentation. But this would be an example where someone has the opportunity to use a pass, and a business, a business could benefit from a piece of equipment that the person brings to a job. So if you think about someone like a mechanic who brings his own tools, or for this individual, Hunter, he brought his own screen printer. And so Hunter is a passionate artist, and he was able to use a pass plan as a concurrent beneficiary to purchase a screen printer for a printing shop. And so during the day, or during a certain amount of hours, the print shop was able to use Hunter's screen printer, but also he had his own kind of side business as well, where he was able to create his own custom designs that he sold, I think maybe online and within the shop. But it was this opportunity for him to, by purchasing this screen printer, he was able to increase the revenue for the business, but also create his own revenue stream through his own self-employment venture and support the business. So he became a wage employee. It wasn't for free, and it was his piece of equipment. So there's an agreement between the business and the individual of what that looks like. And again, this is a whole other webinar series, but just know that that can really change the opportunities available to someone through wage employment, right? So if he can help me increase my revenue, fantastic, because I may not have the revenue to purchase that piece of equipment. But if Hunter brings in that piece of equipment as part of his employment, then Hunter can also take on the hours that our business increases from producing more shirts. And again, he's also doing his own custom designs. So all good stuff. Here is an example of a vehicle, right? And I feel like this one comes up quite a bit. So oftentimes it's not where you can just say, "Oh, I want a vehicle, I'll get a pass plan," right? So public transportation has to not be meeting the person's needs, right? So in this scenario, public transportation was not available for the opportunity that this person had. So they were offered a position where they would work a split shift. Public bus is only going to take her one trip a day, right? To work and then home. So if I have a split shift, that means I would have to spend maybe 12 hours at work if I'm taking the AM shift and the PM shift. So without a car, she was only going to be able to work part-time with the position that was offered to her. However, she had her license, she just didn't have a car. So we were able to use, and she's an SSI only beneficiary, but she was going to have money coming in from her wages because she was working part-time, but there was this opportunity for her to go full-time. So very quickly, her team came together, submitted a pass plan for her to purchase a car and use her pass plan to pay back the loan. So she went to a bank, she got a loan for her car. Griffin Hammis used our K fund to help secure her loan because she didn't really have credit. So at Griffin Hammis, we were able to put up a CD at the bank. So if she were to default on her car loan, the bank cashes the CD. So they were more willing to loan her money as someone who didn't have a lot of credit to be able to give her that loan to get her car. So she gets the loan from the bank. Her pass is approved. So her pass plan pays her car payment to the bank, right? And if for any reason that defaults, the bank cashes the Griffin Hammis K fund and nobody's out anything, right? So in that scenario, she was able to increase her ability to work to full-time because she could now accept the position working a split shift because she has access to a car. She was able to use her pass plan to pay the loan at the bank. And the bank, because she had little to no credit, was hesitant about the loan, but we were able to secure that through the K fund. So talk about like amalgamating funding to make things work. But the really cool thing is she's working full time. She's purchased a car. She now has credit history. And she's a more independent woman because of it. And so it takes some work on the front end, but let me tell you, it can happen. It can all move fairly quickly too, depending upon the sense of urgency. So one of the things I think to consider is, how do we think proactively about the use of PASS and the use of work incentives as opposed to being reactive, right? So I think one of the pieces, particularly as a provider, is looking at who's coming into your agency, what benefits do they receive, if they are a concurrent beneficiary, to identify them, right? You don't have to say, okay, this is a person who's going to utilize a PASS, but if I know that PASS is an option, if I know that they already have resources sitting on the table that could be used, as a job developer, I come at that with a different lens. These are, this is a tool for negotiation that we could consider if it makes sense for the person, right? Also by identifying job seekers who have reduced SSI checks, right? So that could also be wages from a job. And then to integrate benefits planning knowledge doesn't mean you have to be certified, just knowledge of knowing, hey, those work incentives exist. I remember us talking about a PASS plan or an impairment related work expense or the student earned income exclusion. I think I'm going to reach out to one of the benefits planners and ask some questions, right? So pulling that piece in when you're supporting someone, saying, okay, what are all the resources on the table? Or if someone isn't going to have access to long-term coaching supports through Medicaid, but we know that they would benefit, okay, well, maybe a PASS plan could be used for that, or maybe an impairment related work expense. But just knowing there are these tools and these work incentives that exist, and the resources where you don't have to be the expert, but knowing who the experts are and how to contact them is a benefit for everybody. So we are plowing away fairly quickly, which is good because we'll have time for questions. So I always like to wrap it up with a quote, and I really like this one from Steve Jobs, who says, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. This approach has never let me down, and it's made all the difference in my life. And so I think sometimes when we think about work incentives or a PASS plan, that it can feel uncomfortable and unknown because we haven't supported someone in using a PASS plan before. And so trust your gut, trust that bit of intuition that says, maybe this is something that we could look into. And then if we look into it and it makes sense, well, then let's take this a step further. Let's see what that looks like to start those conversations. And I think in our virtual world, it's probably easier than it ever has been to set up a meeting where we can bring in a certified benefits planner and have those conversations together as a team. So, and you are always welcome to contact me with any questions that you might have, but just know I will most likely connect you with one of our in-state experts who's doing this every day.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ashley. See if we have any questions here. Feel free to share them in the chat, or you can unmute and just share them out loud. Yes. All right. Let you think about it a little bit. I also put the link to the evaluation. Oh, here we go. Oh, this is great. Unrelated to PASS plans, but is there Iowa data noting how many SSDI recipients access IRWIs or subsidies?
Yeah, great question.
Great question. Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of. This actually just came up, a question within our colleagues at Griffin Hannes, and nobody is aware. They're also tracking that for SSDI. So,
Interesting, yeah.
And if someone is just receiving a Title II benefit only, just remembering that PASS is more difficult to access that SSI. That's the golden ticket. And Misty, I feel like the last time we had a webinar, I also promoted that people just call you, and I think they were supposed to call the ticket line first in order to get to you. Is that still correct?
That is correct. But we'll still answer the phone.
Ask for forgiveness, folks. Just reach out.
We love to hear from you, so please call us with questions.
And I was just checking out. So again, if you can fill out the evaluation, webinar evaluation, just 3 quick questions. We always really appreciate your feedback. And then we will be back July 20th for part 3 of our benefits planning series. Part 3 is benefits and transition. So Susie Paulson's going to guide us through this one. And we're going to focus on work incentives that can be critical to students in transition. And again, can often be overlooked or forgotten. We'll talk about the student earned income exclusion, the age 18 redetermination, and section 301. So again, we'll be back July 20th, Tuesday, July 20th, 1 p.m. If you haven't registered for that yet, I will be sure to send that out along with the recording and the materials for today. So I think without further, I won't keep you any longer. If we don't have any questions, I'll give you this 13 minutes back. Please complete the evaluation and we'll see you in July. All right, thanks all. Bye-bye. Have a good rest of the day.
Take care.